Whenever people talk about the idea of Xbox versus PlayStation versus Nintendo, there are a lot of different preferences that people can have, whether you like a certain controller or a certain ecosystem or a certain batch of exclusives. But when it comes to Sony, I think the most baffling decision that they continue to double down on is a lack of backwards compatibility. Like, actually consider it. On the Nintendo Switch, there is a way to play Nintendo games, Game Boy games, Nintendo 64 stuff. If you're playing things on Xbox, I bag on Microsoft a lot for not making very many Xbox exclusives, but their back catalog is currently, right this second, fully playable in a big way, and a lot of times in upgraded fashion on the Xbox Series X. But Sony continues to emphasize that they don't care about their own legacy, their own franchises. The games that built them up and made them what they are today seem to be pretty much worthless to PlayStation. But today I wanted to talk about it because a new statement came out that essentially continued the promise that they're not going back. But let's talk about that. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So this is the quote that has really kind of been lighting up social media for the last 24 hours, which is that the developers of Killzone, which is Guerrilla Games, says they're fully switched to the Horizon series and they're done with Killzone. Now, a lot of people are very understandably upset about this because it does feel like every big Sony studio is only talking about the new gritty stuff they're working on. Like, whenever I see stuff like this, where it's weird that we had the entire Infamous trilogy, which is all good and has some of the best DLC of any PlayStation game of all time, literally. I mean, seriously, actually play Infamous. If you haven't, these games are not being remastered or remade or re-released. You're not getting anything new from Resistance Fall of Man or Jak and Daxter or even stuff like Motorstorm. These are all games that sold millions and millions and millions of copies. But not just that, they're games that actually looked good in trailers, that sold systems. It's weird that they're just gone. Like, it's not even that they've tried to move on or released crappy sequels. These are series that made a truckload of money and are now completely abandoned. And a lot of people are pointing out how weird this is, that back when you were playing on the PlayStation 2 or the PlayStation 3, there was all this innovation. Sly Cooper, Little Big Planet, Ratchet and Clank, these were games that were so good, and now all that's left is the biggest, most profitable stuff. Now, I found this tweet from last year that is interesting, which shows a bunch of stuff that PlayStation has released in the PS5 generation, their Metacritic scores. So you can see stuff like Spider-Man 2, Demon's Souls, God of War, Gran Turismo. These games are setting some crazy high Metacritic numbers, right? So I think that Sony's strategy, by their own admission, is to constantly be trying to make those big blockbuster interactive movie games because they sell, they're popular, they're hyped, and again, to go back, they look good in trailers. Now, I love these games, but I think additionally, I've begun to think about how bad it sucks that there is no way to go back and play them easily, right? If I wanted to play these, I either have to buy a PlayStation 3, buy these physical copies of the game. A lot of these, they're just rather busted because a lot of times older games are missing patches and updates. I mean, it's really weird there isn't a clean way to play this. Now, Sony has enabled the sort of backwards compatibility via streaming. Sony claims that PlayStation 3 games, the architecture of that retro system is too different from the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5, so they can't just natively adapt them. But when I hear that, I just feel like streaming games, you end up with a lot of delay, you end up with real low quality visuals and stuff like that. But I also can't help but think about the fact that, honestly, we're seeing other games that came from the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 era be completely repackaged and remade on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. I mean, I am very, very much into retro gaming, but even stuff from PlayStation 3, that's not that far back. I'm glad that we're getting stuff like the Metal Gear collection, the Uncharted collection, the Kingdom Hearts collection. I feel like I don't want to call PlayStation lazy, but it is pretty bizarre that you can list off the amount of games that are just dead. They're not getting anything at this point. They're not doing a reboot. They're not doing a remaster. And again, it annoys me that they're not even bringing them back for another sequel. It's not like, what they did with God of War. Some people are a bit against it. The fact that they took this classically angry character in Kratos and made him a very emotional dad. I like the new Kratos. I like the new God of War games. But even if you don't, I think even people that don't particularly love those stories can admit that it's cool that we're still getting God of War. We're still getting this singular character that has been so titular, and they're bringing him back. It's cool that these things are still returning. It's wild the amount of things that are just gone. In fact, just recently they announced they're shutting down Little Big Planet. They're actually taking it offline. This is like a level creator. It's like Mario Maker for PlayStation. I love Little Big Planet, and it's just gone. They're shutting it down, so even the stuff that people made is just being mass deleted. Why? Stuff like this is kind of annoying me because it does seem like Sony's entire point, their entire purpose at this point is more live service games. They keep talking about the fact that their entire idea of future success is not what they've already made, not relying on really cool, big, interactive, crazy, set-piece style action games. Instead, they want to do even more live service games. Even after Concord flopped, they're doubling down, they're tripling down on making Marathon another live service, of trying to expand Destiny into the mobile space. And to me, this just seems baffling. Now, I do want to make it clear, I'm not saying they have to keep doing what they've always done. I'm not saying that Sony is needing to roll back or stop innovating. I think it's just baffling that you can't even choose anymore. Right? I guess that's what keeps coming to mind. It's not like I can play current games or old school games on my current tech. My options are either to buy a retro system and used games, which gives no money to PlayStation, or buy current tech and have no access to that older library. I spent almost 10 years working at a bookstore, and I feel like it kind of rotted my brain because it really made me appreciate retro media and modern media. Because if you think about it, not only can you always pick up a book, but we also sold games, we sold CDs, we sold all sorts of different stuff, DVDs and stuff like that. You could still go back and watch old movies incredibly easily. You can buy a physical disc, you can buy an old CD, you can listen to the Beatles just as easily now as you could back then. It's weird that it does feel like video games are the only art form where things, as they go forward, completely abandoned the past. And specifically with PlayStation, they seem so proud of it. I mean, some CEOs, some head-up people have talked about the fact that nobody wants to play retro games, but if you kind of check where people are at right now, I think a lot of people would pay to play these. A lot of people would straight up pay to play those games, even if you did have to buy them individually. I saw this thing that disc editions of PS5 consoles make up 82% of all console sales. This is nuts. It's basically saying of the 75 million PS5s that have sold, almost all of them have been the non-digital edition. Now, this is my own personal theory, but I do think a lot of this is people that want to still be able to play PlayStation 4 games for as cheap as possible. I mean, physical discs, a lot of times you could find some really insanely good games from 10 years ago that are now freaking $8 and are hundreds of hours of good time. And you can't do that if you're having to only have the digital console. It seems like these systems, the whole, I don't know, there has been this pivot, I feel like, where people begin to appreciate and respect that older art. A lot of people still want to go back and play The Witcher. People want to go back and play freaking Infamous. People want to go back and play Prototype. And those games continue to be harder to access. And I feel like, if anything, I'm going to heavily lay this at the feet of PlayStation. because I do truly believe that since Sony is way out in front, they have way more next-gen consoles sold than anybody else. When they do stuff, they do kind of set the standard. The fact that they are so ridiculously resistant to enabling people to play their back catalog, to buy their back catalog, to even talk about their back catalog, it seems like it's telling people that it's okay to just give up on your retro catalog. And I don't like that. I've been wanting to rant about this for days. This got posted now 5 days ago, but it is a list that Capcom posted about how to play their games. And honestly, it's psychotic. It is psychotic. It is a chart that shows which consoles can play which games. And you'll notice the original version of Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, they exist nowhere except PC. You can see here, there's the one little check boxes. This, to me, I feel like is an indictment to the standards of video games right now. Maybe I am a tiny minority. Maybe I'm in a little bubble that I don't even realize. But it does feel like these companies, if they invested in making a good emulator for the PlayStation 3 generation, or even polished up something, sell us those games. Bring them back. Make us a Killzone collection. Make us a Resistance collection. Make us a collection of like old school Siphon Filter games and stuff, and package it together and sell it on a full disc. People would pay $70 for that. And for you guys, it's free profit. You're not having to dev new games. Sony seems to constantly complain about how expensive it is to make games and how many tens of millions of copies they have to sell to even break even. I do truly believe that if they started to bring back their old school stuff, it would help bridge that gap. It would help actually ease those dev costs. Make it so you can sell stuff between those big releases. But who knows? What do you guys think about retro gaming, and does this really seem like an issue? Should Sony try and follow in the footsteps of backwards compatibility in the era of Microsoft and Nintendo, or is this all a big waste of time? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. I'm going to the dentist here in 2 hours, and I'm absolutely terrified, because I have a bunch of broken teeth. When I was a kid, homeless on the street, I had a bunch of teeth smashed out. And all the shards in my mouth from where someone attacked me and smashed a bunch of my teeth out. I think I'm going to have to get my shards removed, and it's going to suck. So send me good vibes, because I'll be honest, I'm scared as hell. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.